So all good. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining in today. I'm excited to have Ali Berg and Michelle Kalus joining me. They're the author of Fancy Meeting You here. So hopefully I can share my copy there for everyone to see. So Fancy Meeting You here is their third novel, and their previous works are the book Ninja, While You Were Reading are published in more than 10 territories. When they're not writing books, Ali is a copywriter and Michelle is a primary school teacher. Ali and Michelle have been best friends for life. As 10-year-olds, they could be found ditching playtime for writing club. They are co-founders of Australian social initiative Books on the Rail, where they leave books on public transport for people to find. They both live in Melbourne with their respective families and colour-coordinated bookshelves. So thanks for joining us. And just wanted to also say for people watching that thanks to Alan and Unwin, if anyone watching asks a question during the Facebook Live, they'll have a chance to win a copy of Fancy Meeting You here. Just wondering if you want to start off by telling us a bit about Fancy Meeting You here.
Yes, so we had so much fun writing Fancy Meeting You here together. All of our books sort of fall into the romantic comedy genre, but we decided to throw in a bit of sneaky time travel in this book. So Fancy Meeting You here is about a young woman who's in her 30s by the name of Evie Berry, and she's a little bit of a lost soul. She's sort of stuck in work. She's been trying to write a screenplay for 10 years and has gotten nowhere. Unlucky in love and a little bit infatuated with a very famous author who's also an actor and celebrity by the name of Hugo Hurst. And she just thinks that if she only met him 10 years ago when he was an up-and-coming writer working around the corner from her, that her life could be very different. So there is a chance encounter with a psychic, and she finds herself propelled back in time 10 years and has a chance to relive her 20s. And yes, it's sort of a quirky love story and has lots of fun little elements and characters to it.
Yeah. And could you tell me, what was the first idea you had for it?
The first idea that we had for the book?
Yeah.
I think it was very similar. This idea popped into our head. It's our third book that we've written. So the first two books were about books and romance. And we wanted this one to also have a little bit of a bookish element to it as well. But to also sort of transport us into another world. We were writing it during lockdown and we really wanted that sort of escapist read of somewhere that would take you somewhere outside of your living room, because we did spend so much time there in the past 2 years. So that's why, we created a Fancy Meeting You here. So I think it did start off with that idea, but we then sort of really developed the characters and added more characters and side storylines to it as well.
Yeah. And I love reading that you've been friends for life and that you've been writing together for a long time. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, so Ali and I, the very first time we met was on holidays in Marysville when we must have been maybe about 5 years old. I was immediately infatuated with Ali. However, Ali was only interested in my older sister, Sarah, who just seemed a lot cooler and more sophisticated than me. So we sort of didn't have the typical love at first sight story, but then I moved schools to the same school as Ali in year 2, and we eventually hit it off. So yeah, we've sort of lived in each other's pockets for over 2 decades now. Always been very close, very similar. Books have always been a really big part of our life as well, growing up. So yeah, now we just get to create stories together. We sort of think ourselves that we get to work together. We have a lot of fun just being with each other.
Yeah. And when you were younger, did you talk about doing something like this together?
Never, but we did do writing club in year 4. So we spent our lunch times doing writing club rather than going outside and playing or doing whatever the cool kids were doing.
Yeah.
Who knows? And then I don't think we really talked about co-authoring a book. The book pitch relationship that we had was more about we completely fangirled over a whole lot of different books, starting with Harry Potter and going all the way through to The Bronze Horseman was a huge one for us. And then, just discussing books just discussing books constantly, and then also being part of the Bookstagram community, so the online book Instagram community. But then we only really discussed writing a book together once we co-founded Books on the Rail, where we plant books on public transport for people to find, read and return.
Yeah, I'd like to know some more about that. What can you tell us?
So we launched Books on the Rail in 2016, I think it was now. Ali had just moved back from London, where she was helping run Books on the Underground, which is a similar concept over there. And so she approached me when she moved back home, and we launched it first in Melbourne, and then we were able to go Australia-wide. We have people who we call our book ninjas, who get our little Books on the Rail stickers, and they put their own books on public transport. So we've got books circulating on buses and trains and trams in all the major cities in Australia.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome,
It's been a really fun, like, we've always been in this bookish world, but it's sort of launched us into this new little community, which we really love. And excitingly, we had obviously a bit of a hiatus from putting books on the rail. We had books on the bed during all of the lockdowns and the peak of the pandemic. But now we're back on the rails with people putting books out and people discovering them again, which has been wonderful to see.
Yeah. And are you like on Instagram with that, or?
Yeah, so you can find us on @BooksOnTheRail, and so you can see where all the books are that we drop, and then also the hashtag Books on the Rail, which Book Ninjas. So we've got over 1,000 Book Ninjas all over the country.
Yeah.
So you can see where they drop their books and sort of what books they're reading and what books they're putting on public transport. So we've been on ferries and trains and trams and buses and any public transport around Australia.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. I've got a few people watching and some questions coming through, which is great. Just reminding people watching that if you do ask a question, you'll have a chance to win a copy of Fancy Meeting You Here, thanks to Alan and Unwin. So Sabine says, how do you manage writing a book together? And I'm sure that's on everyone's mind, that question.
Yes, a great question. Well, co-authoring was very new for both of us. I mean, authoring was new for us too. And I think it really helps that we have a long history together, and that friendship really plays into it. So the way that it generally works is we have really detailed, big, exciting brainstorming meetings where we really unpack the characters, so that we both have a really clear understanding of who they are and what we want them, what we hope for them and their storyline. And then we spend a lot of time plot mapping each chapter, so the main things that are going to happen in each chapter from the start until the end. And then that allows us to divvy up the chapters and write on our own when it fits in with our own schedule.
Yeah.
And so that plot map is really important, because sometimes I'll be writing a chapter that comes after one that Ali hasn't yet written. So that helps us to get the big sort of plot points in the chapter.
Yeah.
And then we spend a lot of time going back and reading each other's work and editing, discovering the story for the first time. And that, I think that's probably one of the best things, is that we have an inbuilt editor in the process. And that sort of allows us to put ourselves in all of the chapters. And we really sort of, I think especially in this book, developed just this very strong voice that's very, I go back and I can't really work out what I've written and what Ali has written.
Yeah. Do you think you write very similar to each other?
Yeah, I think we have developed this new voice that sits sort of a little bit in between both of us. And yeah, it's actually been pretty uncanny just to see how much, I think it helps that we understand the characters really well and the story. But yes, the voice is definitely we're now sort of one person. We've sort of just morphed into one.
Yeah. And Sina says, what are the pros and cons of writing with your best friend? And she also wonders how you solve your disagreements on the book.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of pros and not too many cons. In terms of disagreements, firstly, so Mish and I are not very confrontational people, but we sort of had to become confrontational people when writing a book together. Everything has to be out in the open. There's so many decisions to make: colour, the characters, the settings, the plot. So we really had to sort of make our opinions heard and make them heard quickly. But basically, how we write is we write in a Google document, so it's a live document where we can make comments to each other. So we'll just basically communicate like that. A lot of the time, and say things like, this is great, or this is shit, rewrite this, etc. And I think the pros are, one, you can get your book written while you're sleeping, or while you're, I know when I got married or when Mish got married, we were writing the book for each other during that period of time, during these busy periods. And two, you get to write with your best friend. Usually writing is such a solitary thing, and it's been I'm a copywriter as well, so different sort of writing, but it's usually such a solitary thing, and it's been so nice to be able to laugh and talk throughout the writing as we do it. It's been really, really interesting to sort of find that balance, and to sort of work with someone and have fun at the same time. And three, I think it definitely makes me a much better writer working with Mish, because Mish pushes me and makes me think about things different ways and challenges me constantly. There aren't really any cons, I don't think, but I think that, I guess at the start, I think the challenges were that it was hard, I'm definitely a plotter usually, a pantser usually, so I write by the pants of my seat. So I sort of will let the characters drive me. If I was writing independently or by myself, I'd let the characters sort of tell the story and sort of find out what happens as I go. But with a co-author, you can't do that. So we had to plot every single thing from chapter 1 to the last chapter in minute detail. So sort of adjusting to that way of writing, which I think is important with a co-author, because otherwise neither of you know what's really going to happen, and it's hard to write one chapter after the other.
And Kelly wonders, do you find that you normally do agree on how the book's going to go along and how it's going to end, or do you quite often have different ideas?
I think in general we've got a pretty shared vision for what we want the characters to be, and sort of the brainstorming is just very organic. Like, we just sort of have conversations about what would work, what wouldn't work. And I think it's great that we've got, like Ali said, somebody to constantly challenge our thought process to see what works. So we've never really had a disagreement about anything sort of substantial, because I think we just want the best for our characters, want the best for our story. And I think we're able to, during the conversation, to sort of nut out what seems to make sense. I think one thing, I'm a little bit more pragmatic, and Ali is like a real romantic, and so the characters will fall in love very quickly or get engaged very quickly. And I'm like, I don't know if that's practical. So I think I temper Ali's beautiful romanticness a little bit, but again, I think we just sort of appreciate and value each other's opinions, and we trust each other's judgment. So it's all been pretty organic, we must say. We've been very lucky.
I think in each of the 3 books that we've written, there's always been an I love you after the first date that Mish has been in my initial draft, and Mish has always cut it out. Hopefully the next one.
And Kelly says she loves book ninjas and was lucky to pick one up in Sydney on the train, and it's such a fantastic concept. And she also says she's a huge fan of Book Ninja and While You Were Reading, and she wonders what your favourite character is from all your books.
Ooh. That's a hard one, our babies. one that's a little bit out there is I love Claude from the book Ninja, who's married to the main character's best friend. Claude was just such a quirky, lovable character, but he took a while to sort of finesse and get there. In the first couple of drafts, he was very black and white and very grumpy, and you couldn't really understand why Kat, who was this beautiful, vibrant woman, would be with somebody like Claude. But we just couldn't seem to get him to be nuanced. And then really at the very, very last second, we decided, you know what, he just needs a fun, quirky hobby. And we decided to make him a fanatical knitter.
Oh,
and
really?
Constantly knitting beanies.
Yeah.
And his wife was always wearing knitted clothing, and he always sort of had wool stuck to his hair or on his hands, and that made him so endearing and this really great character. So he's always been someone I've really loved, and I think also just I learned a lot from going through the process of creating a sort of a whole person with him.
Yeah.
I like him too, but I think my favourite would be Dino from While You Are Reading, just because he's such a heartthrob. He's like this amazing barista, and he's got tattered sleeves, and he's broody, and he's mysterious, and I'm just in love with him.
And Kelly says, reading the previous two books of yours, you would not know it's been written by two people. And she has to say she absolutely loves how you finish your books, and she's got your other books on her list to read.
Oh, thanks,
you, Kelly.
It's wonderful to hear.
That's so nice.
And Belinda loved While You Were Reading and tried to keep a score of how many referenced books she'd read.
Amazing. Yes, there's a lot.
Yeah. And I'm wondering what you like to read yourselves, and if maybe there's something you might have been reading lately that you'd like to share with us.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we definitely love the romance genre, the contemporary sort of women's fiction book. I've just read and really loved a book by Taylor Jenkins Reid, who wrote The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo and Daisy, the Daisy book. I didn't realise it was a book that she wrote, I think, in 2018, so before these other books went gangbusters, and it's called One True Love. And it was a really just beautiful, gushy, emotional, romantic romp. I just adore everything that she writes. So she's been a newer author that we've discovered these last couple of years and haven't looked back. So she's...
Yeah, and I think, yes, we both love romances. I like more the rom-com, uplifting, happy ones, and Mish likes, as I like to call them, the depressing rom-coms.
Yeah.
The depressing, not rom-coms, just the depressing roms. So sad, beautiful, emotional romances. I like them too, but I prefer the rom-coms. But I also have gotten I really love historical fiction as well, and I've gotten really into generational family sagas.
Oh, yes,
So things like Pachinko and The Vanishing Half. And I've just started reading this. I've actually got it right next to me, this one, House of Kwa by Mimi Kwa.
Oh, yes, memoir. I've read that's a good,
Yeah, I'm very excited to read it. Yeah, but a generational family by a Melbourne author as well. So, yeah, I've just sort of gotten into that genre, but I'm really loving every book that I read in it.
Yeah. And do you watch a lot of romance and that on TV as well?
Oh,
Definitely.
Yes. Yeah. Could you tell us something that you'd recommend, a series or a movie?
Yes. Something that I've just finished watching the second season. It's not strictly rom-com, but it has the romance and everything. It's Australian made, called Bump on Stan.
Okay.
I think it's been a pretty popular one recently. Absolutely adoring Bump. The second season was just as good as the first.
And then also another one, which also you recommended me, Love Me, another Australian production. From on Binge in Australia. But yes, which is about, I think it's about the love stories of different members of family.
Yes.
I've just started watching it, but it's been really great.
Yeah.
First episode. And then also anything by Mindy Kaling. So Never Have I Ever, Sex Lives of College Girls. I both watched both of those over the holidays, and they're romantic comedies.
Yeah. Well, thanks for those recommendations. I'm wondering, when you're writing, do you have a favourite drink or snack?
Ooh.
Well, something that we missed the most when we were writing Fancy Meeting You here, because we were doing so much of it from our own homes, was missing our routine of having breakfast together and writing and brainstorming. So we often have it over smashed avocado with a nice coffee when we're together.
Yeah, and I think, and then during deadlines, I'm just constantly eating chocolate.
Yeah.
It really helps. Chocolate and coffee.
Yeah.
When I'm stressed out and close to the end, it's probably not very healthy, but it is very efficient.
Yeah. And Kelly wonders if either of you have a favourite romance author.
Ooh. A lot to choose from. One that we've both discovered recently and adore is, and I've gone blank.
Mary McFarlane.
Yes. That's why it's so good. Another reason why you have a co-author finish your sentences.
Yeah. But yeah, every book that she writes is brilliant. Mary McFarlane, but it's spelled Mhairi. I'm not actually sure whether it's pronounced Mary. I don't think it is. But yeah, she's an English writer, and she writes. She just writes really clever, witty romances.
So she's become a big role model.
Yeah. And then Holly Wainwright as well. I really like. I love her books. Helen Fielding, who wrote Bridget Jones' Diary, and then our all-time favourite is Paulina Simons, who doesn't write romantic comedies but writes beautiful romance story and historical fiction. The Bronze Horseman is our all-time favourite, but she also writes non-historical fiction. But yes, we love Paulina Simons.
And so far, what have you found the most difficult part of the writing process?
I think what has been hard with our first two books was deadlines. We had very tight deadlines, and Ali and I also work full time. So meeting deadlines was really, really tough. We had a much more manageable deadline for Fancy, which was a total game changer. But I think I can find the editing when we get the structural edits back and having to go back and edit the book. That's when I sort of really, it sort of weighs on me, and how to nut that out. That can be quite challenging editing, especially when you're potentially rewriting how a character behaves or adding in chapters here or there. So I find that quite technical. And that can definitely be one of the more challenging bits. So when the first draft is very much, it's organic, it comes out of you, whereas it can get quite fiddly when it gets to the editing.
That's where you thrive. I feel like Mish is the editing queen. Mish is also amazing while you're writing, but then as soon as we get the editing, I have no idea what to do. I feel frozen for a long time, and Mish is just right. Mish has a whole game plan of what we're going to do.
Yeah. And Kelly wonders what you're working on at the moment and when we can next expect to see a new novel from you.
Well, actually, we've just finished writing the screenplay for the Book Ninja, so it got optioned a couple of years ago by Film Fury, and we are now about to we've just sent it off, and now hopefully it gets made into a film.
Yeah, that's pretty exciting.
Sorry?
That's pretty exciting then.
It's very exciting, Fingers crossed, we are hoping to cast a Hemsworth or two. And now we just met last week about book 4. So we actually do have an idea, a very, very loose idea, which we can't share yet. But hopefully we will start writing it ASAP. We're very keen to get it out into the world because we're very, very excited about this one.
Yeah, no, that sounds good. Lots of things coming up. Sina wonders what you enjoy most about writing.
I think one of the things I love the most is just getting to work with Ali. We have so much fun together, and I've learned so much from working with her and collaborating with her. So that's definitely the best bit. I think writing can be quite stressful at times. You know, you're really vulnerable when you're putting your work out there into the world. But I think having somebody else to do it with, you sort of recover from things much quicker and use humour to move forward. And it's just a lot of fun doing that. And then I guess it's always very exciting when you finally see your work in bookstores and hear from people who have read our stories and have enjoyed them. I think when we first started writing, I assumed it would just be our mums who would read our books. So I think it still surprises us that people have read our book and enjoyed our book, and that's always very humbling and very exciting.
Yeah, hearing that anyone has liked our book has been, seriously, any message or anything that we get from people, and every time it just makes our day.
Yeah. And what about writing by yourselves? Sometimes that's something that you think you might do in the future.
We haven't done that before, and I feel like I'd be too scared to. You know, I feel like I wouldn't be my best self without Michelle.
I definitely feel the same. I couldn't. No, I couldn't do it without Al.
No, I really love your story, like how you've grown up together and that you're enjoying this so much. I really love that.
Oh, thank you.
Well, thanks so much for joining us. It's been great chatting to you. Just wondering, do you want to share with people how they can keep in touch with you?
Yes. So there's the Books on the Rail, which is on Instagram and Facebook, Books on the Rail. And then we also have Ali and Michelle on Instagram and on Facebook. And that's sort of more of our author bookish platform as well.
Yeah, it's just Ali and Michelle.
Well, thanks so much. And thanks for everyone who joined in and asked some questions. Been great chatting to you both.
So great chatting to you. Thanks so much for having us.
Thanks.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.